Brother John,
Yes, sir.
thank you for joining. Thanks for just, being here, talking, and just, I just wanted to have a chat with you because the other day I remember seeing you. We were on top of the Whole Foods, and they were over there. They had just got done with a few festivities. They had some fruit there, but then when you and Dulce came up, and then when you came to me right before I was going down to the parking lot, you ran up to me like, Jerome, just wanted to let you know, man, like, yeah, I still been on the path and doing this stuff. And, I did a 7-month, juicing, and then I was doing this and doing that. And I could feel your excitement. Like, I could feel your energy. I could feel just the level of vitality. Like, I could see it in your eyes. I could feel it and I could hear it in your voice, how much your life had changed and how much certain things that you did to get yourself out of your comfort zone had been a game changer for you. So I just wanted to hear just more about your story, like where you came from, where you've come through, and where you've arrived today.
Okay.
How did it all start?
Awesome, Jerome. It all started about 15 years ago or so.
Okay.
I turned 34,
Okay.
and I wasn't feeling my best
Okay.
after a lifetime of pretty standard American diet,
Got you.
habits.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was on the healthier side of the spectrum, but I was relying on stimulants a lot, like
Okay.
caffeine, Red Bulls, and things like that,
Definitely, yeah.
to improve productivity.
Same.
And just, according to everything I learned now, it was not my dietary habits and routines were not in alignment with nature by any means. I didn't even understand how far off the bullseye I kind of was.
Okay.
So it caught up with me. I ended up experiencing what I would describe now as like adrenal fatigue, burnout. I think I was pretty significantly depressed looking back compared to how I am now.
Okay.
As far as my overall outlook on life and
Right.
how I interacted with others and connected with other individuals and stuff. Had a whole different attitude about the world. And then ultimately I was having for the first time in my life a lot of anxiety, pretty severe on a few occasions.
Almost like panic attack?
Yeah, I would start overthinking.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I thought that sometimes I wasn't getting enough oxygen into the way I was breathing. Or, would just start, it's hard to describe it, but I would my heart would rev up. I would get very, if I look back at it, I actually haven't really put this to words before, but you get into this state of overthinking to where you would go down this black hole of thoughts.
With the palpitations.
And then ultimately it would turn into kind of physical worry.
Yeah. Like what's going on?
And it was not pleasant to say the least. Just to put it in perspective, a couple of occasions I had, my girlfriend at the time drove to the parking lot of the hospital because I just felt like if I have to go in there for whatever's happening, I'd like to be close to it. And just sat there for an hour and a half.
Just to be there.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Such an interesting, because it's
Okay.
looking back, I'm I don't know what caused that, but when I changed my dietary habits, I've never experienced it since.
Ever.
Almost overnight it changed.
Just been gone. Wow. Just
so
due
it
to
must
that.
have, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Maybe MSG in certain foods or something. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah.
that was really alarming. I would have heart palpitations too. I actually bought a blood pressure tester, blood sugar tester. I was trying to really figure out what was going on, but I would have heart palpitations throughout the day,
Man.
especially lying down at night. It was hard to sleep at night. I would be restless throughout the night and kind of sluggish and lethargic during the day.
Okay.
Everything felt out of balance.
Man.
If I had to summarize it, I felt out of balance.
And if somebody had never experienced true adrenal fatigue, how would you describe that? How would you describe what that feels
I
like?
think just you reach a point where all the espresso or caffeine or energy drinks in the world can't do anything. That, for me at least, I should speak for myself, didn't seem to have the same effect anymore.
Okay.
And you're just probably redlining, to put it into, I don't know, some kind of perspective.
Okay.
You're burnt out pretty much.
Burnt out.
And at the same time, your body's having trouble understanding when it's day and when it's nighttime. I also had a very unhealthy sleeping schedule.
So
I was
the circadian rhythm was off.
Yes, I used to DJ and produce music.
Okay.
I was also working full time. I was a restaurant manager at the time in
Oh, wow.
Miami.
Woo!
So
Busy
I would
schedule.
go out and attend shows and check out some of my favorite artists. So sometimes I'd go to bed at 8 a.m. Sometimes
Rolling.
I'd go to bed at midnight. Like I was all over the place.
Vampire.
So
Yeah. The great.
this is like exactly the other end of the spectrum that I'm on now.
Man.
But I was young. That was throughout my 20s, my early 30s, and then it caught up with me quickly at age 34.
Because when you say quickly, like it caught up, when did you know, like, okay, it's time to change? Like this is.
I was coping with everything, making do, but the anxiety was out of this world. That was enough to like, okay, something's really. And then also the heart palpitations. When your heart feels like it's skipping beats. Or one thing was I'd be laying down at night, I could like hear my heart beating through my ear on the pillow kind of feeling.
Whoa.
It was beating hard, like beating more heavily than I've ever noticed before.
Okay.
And it would skip beats, it felt like sometimes. Like it was like the rhythm was off sometimes. And that was very like concerning to me.
Man.
So I went to the doctor for the first time in over a decade or something. I'm pretty blessed. I have never had any broken bones or anything like that. But I went in because I had my job at the time. I had insurance. My manager had been living in that area for a long time, and he recommended the best doctor in the area. And they ran a blood test, and everything was decent, but my TSH levels were underactive. Or elevated, and I think that meant my thyroid was underactive.
So TSH.
I don't know what that.
But
I think that's what it's called. I think that's somehow they measure like how your thyroid is functioning.
So your thyroid was
Underactive according to them.
underactive. Okay.
And
What did
I
that
said,
mean
okay.
for you?
I wasn't sure, so I asked the doctor. he told me, "Oh, do you take a multivitamin?" I said, "Yeah." I actually had a cabinet filled with pills, potions, powders, everything.
Like so one a day.
I'm very different than that now. That was back then.
Okay.
'Cause that was keeping me healthy. That cabinet.
Right.
So he said, "You take a multivitamin?" I said, I do, yeah, actually, in the morning." It was beautiful. "I'm going to prescribe you something. Just take it right alongside that vitamin. In a week or two, you're going to feel like right as rain. You're going to feel great."
Okay.
I said, "All right. How long will I take that for?"
Yeah.
He goes, "It'll be forever."
Oh my God! No, bro.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And I thought I immediately thought of my mom, my grandma,
Jesus.
bless their hearts. But they, when they were alive, they had little baskets filled with pills with their prescriptions.
My mom does too.
And I just saw like an image of that, like it would be a downward spiral of like one pill, and then there'll be side effects, and then take this for the side effects. And the next thing you know, like 10, 15 years down the road, I have like 10 bottles.
Every pill needs another pill.
I had this like image, like a visualization, and that's where that path was leading. And it didn't resonate at all. Even back then, I was not nearly as sensitive and intuitive as I feel like I am now, or in tune with myself. But I felt that loud and clear. Like alarm bells went off. And like, you don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I still, for about 2 or 3 days, I took the pills. I think I was cutting them in half. I was on like Google, WebMD. I felt like they prescribed too high a dose compared to what I was reading. I tried to call them. They were very arrogant.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
The nurses who answered the phone, the doctor got on with me for a minute. Very arrogant.
Big
Don't
ego.
self-diagnose. Get off the internet. This is what we do. We know what we're talking about.
Big ego. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the meeting too, drinking a huge coffee, juggling like 5 rooms of patients at the same time. I didn't feel like he was being present.
Okay.
Or listening to the little nuances I was sharing, and
Right.
he didn't care at all about any of that stuff.
Man.
So
So there was a lack of like attention or acknowledgement of really what you were going through. Like there was a lack of just that care.
Yeah, empathy, care.
It's like they have so much traffic of people coming in and out that it just kind of
felt like a
reduces
number.
the empathy to one is not really there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to have me take that pill for the
No,
first
no,
month,
no.
so I'll tell you
No,
that.
definitely not.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I took them for a couple of days, and it felt so wrong. Like sometimes you never make a decision, you'll act on it. You might be not completely clear. You act, take a step in this direction, and I'll do this. I'll gauge how it feels.
Yeah.
If it doesn't feel right after I start down that path, I'll back off.
Yeah.
Choose the other route.
Right.
So I took the pill for 2-3 days, and I remember it felt, every time I swallowed one of those, it felt so wrong to me.
Yeah.
Like it felt like a lie. Like I felt weak in my bones, kind of like this is not the way to do it.
Okay.
So I threw them in the trash can. I think in that 3-day span, I was literally, at that point, I had really, like there were bouts where I just felt I was in bed all day, like really tough times. I was like, throughout a few month period leading up to that, and it kind of peaked at those 3 days. I was like literally at certain times like on my knees, like praying like, God. And I felt intuitively it had to do with my lifestyle, and I couldn't figure out how we were supposed to eat.
Okay.
I'm like, I feel like I'm not doing something right.
Right.
You know, I was doing like chicken breast and lots
Me
of,
too.
I was
I
still
used to have
getting
the
dairy.
big rotisseries, like food to feed families. You know, there was a lot. Yeah. So.
Oh, for sure. And you think it's, I mean, pretty clean. It's just like chicken and rice and veggies and this and that, or this is a pretty healthy dessert. You know, we what's the word you use when you justify things?
We do.
And we also, I didn't have any knowledge base. There's nobody in my life telling me how to do any better than that.
So your environment,
I was actually in my world one of the healthy. I felt like I was eating healthier than most people around me.
I got you.
And I was fairly active, working out pretty regularly, off and on and stuff. But so anyway, through that search, I went right to some thyroid books. Nothing resonated there. The blood type books, that didn't resonate. It was so confusing.
Okay.
And everything on Google was baffling, like maddeningly confusing, where you go
Convoluted.
crazy. Like there's so much data and so much conflicting info.
Yeah.
But it's so fascinating to me. I had a very positive attitude, and I had a pretty solid spiritual foundation from the time I was a teenager.
Good.
And so I was only searching for the answer. Like I would search words like I healed my thyroid naturally, healed my thyroid holistically on my own. Like I was very specific. I feel like Google sometimes is like prayer. You gotta ask just right. And now AI is kind of like that.
Now we hear people use GPT for all of this.
So I was a good searcher.
And
I was confident I'll find a way to heal on my own.
That's key.
You know, like thank you, doc, but no thanks.
Okay.
That was just me. That was what I felt.
Yeah.
And where was I? So
You're on the path.
I feel like
to
that was
discovery.
kind of key. But as I was searching, I had some, like this doctor I went to had celebrities on his wall. He's supposed to be the best. Didn't resonate. I read some of the best books about the thyroid because that seemed to be the main thing that the doctor was concerned with. Nothing resonated. All the dietary stuff, nothing resonated. I had tried like a paleo type diet for a little while right before leading up to this moment, and it seemed like an improvement. And I look back and I think some of the things I was experiencing that last little stretch of time were detox symptoms, because I cut out a lot of processed stuff and I was eating a lot of meat and stuff like that still, but it was more like meat and veggies.
Gotcha.
Still not that great, but probably maybe I was detoxing from some of the other stuff I was doing before that. Long story short, I found raw veganism through Durian Rider. He's quite a popular plant-based, raw vegan influencer content creator.
Durian Rider.
He was really big, especially back then, like 15 years ago or so. He and Freely, his ex-girlfriend at the time. I still love them both for the content they shared that helped me.
Yeah.
He was like, I think, vlogging from a pool in Thailand, probably on a flip phone back then.
Okay.
Crazy quality.
Old
He's
school.
from Australia. It was actually like challenging to understand him at times. But like his message was loud and clear regardless. Casually walking around a pool, flips his phone up, and he's like just flowing. And he was talking about how he's been on a fruit-based raw vegan diet for the past so many years. And at the time, I forget, maybe 5-6 years at the time he was on it. And he's like, I healed this, that, and he said the word thyroid.
Ooh.
And I think he said the word depression. He hit on a couple points.
But that was the trigger word.
Yeah, and I'm like, And you know what's crazy?
What?
After that visit with my doctor and all the books, with him, as casual and maybe low quality as the video was, and who the heck is this guy? I always tug on my shirt like this, but it felt like my solar plexus, my soul, was just pulling me towards him.
Ooh.
Like, this is the answer.
There was a pull towards.
There was a resonance.
Okay.
It was like, this is the answer. Like a very strong knowing.
Yes.
Go this direction.
Okay.
Go this way. Go this way.
Dang.
So I dove in, man. I started watching all his videos, and I found his girlfriend Freely, who was awesome. And, she's still they're still great in my eyes, as far as like their lifestyle goes. And then I found a lot of other people, Fully Raw Christina,
Yes.
Dr. Graham, 80-10-10, the whole 80-10-10 crew.
Yes.
Chris Kendall, Raw Advantage was awesome.
Man.
My friend now Alicia Grant was awesome with Raw Synergy. I found everybody and I just dove in.
You just went in.
And then sometime like that first few days as soon as I discovered it, I went to the grocery store. I think I went to Whole Foods actually.
Okay.
And I remember spending like at the time like $150 or so. Filled up my cart. It was all fruit.
Wow.
And salad stuff.
Okay.
And I think the only kind of, the only area that maybe wasn't raw were like my salad dressings. I was like, I'm gonna go with a fat-free or oil-free, low-fat dressing. That's vegan.
And that was the first time you did that?
Yeah, I went overnight. I had a couple instances in the past where I had really cool girlfriends who wanted to try going plant-based or vegan. I remember like at least 2 times. But we did it all wrong. It was like we did it for maybe a month or 2. I can't remember the details of how long, but I remember doing things like buying tofurkey.
Oh yeah.
And then putting like sprouts and vegan mayo in it and tomato and some cucumber, rolling it up and having like a 200 calorie, lunch.
Yeah, Boca burger.
And then being like, why am I craving everything else? I was not doing it right.
Still craving, yeah.
I didn't know how to get the calories in. I didn't understand fruit was the bullseye.
Okay.
I'm still trying to replicate a standard American lifestyle with plant-based foods, processed foods. I was still in the processed world.
Yeah.
So I laugh when I think about those couple of experiences.
I did the same thing with they were like, they had Boca burgers and cauliflower wings, like, things that would imitate these creations.
Yeah.
That they're still kind of wrapped in the mindset of eating animals, but you're not eating animals. So it was like there was still that disconnect where I didn't go further. So thank you for touching on that, because that's a big one, that kind of keeps us in that cycle loop of just mentally, it's still kind of very stimulating as well. So
it is. And nothing against tofurkey if anyone likes it.
Yeah,
I'm sure it works sometimes.
That's your thing.
I love that there's products like that available as options for people.
Almost like a gateway.
It could be, because at that time, I remember going out with friends. I don't know. This is way back. This is when I was like, had those couple of girlfriends that were wanting to try to go vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah.
I remember going to like bars. I went to California on a trip. My friends took me to a popular bar in West Hollywood or something. They were all drinking and stuff. And I was just drinking a bottle of water, and I had raw green beans in my pocket.
Oh, wow.
And I was just munching on, it was either snap peas or green beans, something like that.
Did they say something?
Yeah, everybody was wondering what I was doing. I was just pulling it out from my inside pocket. I was munching on them, and I increased my raw living foods without realizing that was like the way, in a way.
They're like, what you got there? What you got there?
Yeah, and I was sharing them and stuff. And I remember feeling like especially great that night. And I remember having really fond memories of that evening, thinking everybody's so friendly, such a good vibe. And I think it was just a reflection of how I was feeling, as opposed to what I would have done in the past, which is order some like bar food and drink stuff like that, drink alcohol perhaps.
Right.
So I was showing like some contrasting moments that were glimpses. Absolutely. And I think that was kind of stuff like that subconsciously makes an impact.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, when I find someone else who shows me more of a solid path, it resonated. I probably thought back and made some connections. But so I have a lot of gratitude for those, those early experiences too, and to those ex-girlfriends of mine.
Shout out.
Yeah.
So when did your thyroid start to change? Like, when did you start to see the noticeable difference?
I promise you, I went, like that first day I went home, I had watched a solid amount of videos, a dozen videos on YouTube. I like to always share that I learned early on that the foundation, and especially when I look back, the foundation of my success, because now it's been 15, what I would say very successful years for me, has been education. I say that my foundation is education. It was like that with on my spiritual path too. But it's when things get rocky, you fall back on education, and then eventually your experiences too, and they build. But so I had just enough, couple days of like education. I dove in pretty hard, and I was just binging YouTube videos one after another, and absorbing it. And I was very receptive to it. It all resonated strongly.
Yes.
So like day one, it was like, I don't know, maybe some fruit and watermelon for breakfast, big giant full blender smoothie for lunch, more fruit, and then a big salad for dinner with my like fat-free bottled dressing on it. And I promise you, overnight, looking back, I have not had an anxiety experience since then. Woo. Yep. Honestly, I have not been back to a doctor to have a full talk about my thyroid. We'll get into this juice cleanse, but I did a very long juice cleanse recently.
Yeah.
Pretty recently, and my family asked me to go in for blood work afterwards because it was significantly long. And I didn't even get into the thyroid with them or anything. I assumed they were gonna just like check all my everything.
Yeah.
So I have my stepmom's a nurse, my stepsister's a nurse. I thought they helped introduce me to their friend who was the doctor and stuff. And I thought they understood that I was looking to get like a full blood workup.
Yeah.
And they didn't. It was more like a basic. So I still didn't know what like the TSA.
Okay.
But everything I experienced leading up to that moment, where overnight I changed and I never looked back that day. I went vegan that day. Super high raw. Like I went about 2 months where I was like 95% raw. And then I fell into a routine where it was like fruit juice and smoothies all day. Tried to do my best to stay raw all day with a big salad. If I felt like I was craving salty or savory or something a little denser, it was like brown rice, even sometimes white rice, potatoes, beans, lentils, and like roasted or steamed veggies, stuff like that. Real clean, whole food, plant-based meals. That's how it's been for about 15 years. Like I would say if I had to average it out, 70% of my diet's been fruit for 15 years. I would go on, in general, 9 months out of the year, like fruit juice and smoothies till dinner time, and then have like the cleanest possible, like cooked plant-based foods that my body feels like my body's asking for. For myself, and just trying to keep it as clean and serene as possible. And when I get around, friends, even my most conscious friends, if we want to check out a plant-based spot, I do relax and I'll have some, because you probably understand, but after a certain period of time, when you cleanse your vessel, your temple, your avatar out, you develop a beautiful relationship with it.
For sure.
And it communicates real clearly to you.
Yeah.
Where your limits are, where that bullseye is, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That bullseye for me, like so far today, is the sunshine. Yeah. Right now.
Yeah.
The watermelon at the festival with some lime squeezed on it. That's
the
happy
bullseye.
place.
I like how you call it the bullseye. The avatar. Like I love the words that you use to describe these things, because it just brings it down to earth. It brings it simple and plain, and it shows us, you're aiming for something. Yeah. They say if we aim at nothing, we hit nothing. Like if an archer has like a bow and arrow, but they aim at nothing, but they're not gonna hit anything. So I love that you had a target, that you had a bullseye, that you had something that you said, okay, I'm not going in that direction anymore. Now I'm going in this direction. And then when you went through that direction with focused intention, you saw the progression, Yes. So I love that, man. And I love that, you were able to see results, you were able to see the changes. And also it sounds like your family, them being nurses and them being in the medical field, having them see the changes in your body as well. I'm sure that was, changing for them to see you in that state, in this state, and that you feel great, that's awesome. That's awesome for them to witness. Yeah.
It takes a while in my family. It took a while, I think, to make any kind of impact. The first few years, when you go from like a standard diet, lots of processed food, and you make an abrupt change like that, like for me, my body shed so many pounds. Like I went from like being 180, I'm 6'1", 185, much higher body fat percentage. It's an okay shape, but like when I look back, there's on my Instagram page a before and after me.
You see it,
You see a big difference.
Yeah.
And like the first couple of years, as you're getting your head around, I was on chronometer tracking stuff. I was, the first smoothie I made with dates and bananas, I was like, there's so much sugar. I tested my blood sugar. I was pricking my fingers with the blood sugar tester for a good few month period, man, spending like a couple $100 a month on the testing strips.
Jeez.
And doing like wake up fasted, pre-breakfast, during breakfast, after breakfast, pre-lunch, during lunch. I was so thorough.
Whoa.
And same with the blood pressure, because that was one of the things. I would get up to use the restroom middle of the night if I got out of bed too quick before this lifestyle change. I would get dizzy, lightheaded.
Okay.
I was like, what is going on with me? I think looking back, I had way too much fat in my diet.
Okay.
I had a whole bunch going on.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like you were very like with the regimen, the routine, the ritual, with just.
I was serious about figuring this out.
You were responsive, yeah.
Like you were saying, when you said a powerful intention, like that prayer, when I had literal moments, tears streaming down my cheeks, on my knees, like whether it was like out loud or just in my heart, crying out loud, like this is BS. I was like, because at the time, I think the first iPhone came out, and I was like, we have iPhones in our culture, in our civilization.
Yeah.
Yet we don't know what our diet is. And I'm looking at nature,
Crazy.
the lion, the cheetah, the giraffe, the gazelle. Everyone else knows.
They know what their diet is.
We're so intelligent.
Yeah.
And so I was smart enough to like, I equate things very simply for myself. Even with my diet, like, how do you eat? I'm like,
it's logical.
I'm like, I eat like a gorilla.
Yeah.
And even when it comes to like complex things like astrology and this and that, we were talking about this yesterday here. I'm like, I don't look into it that much. I don't want to limit myself. That you're supposed to have these tendencies because you were born on this day at this time.
Right.
I like to be limitless.
Right.
Free. Right. Expansive. I can change. You're telling me that I'm supposed to be this way. What if? I said, I've gone through tremendous shifts in my personality and my behavior. And so I'm very much like that. And when I think like, when people ask me, how do you eat? I say like a gorilla.
Yeah.
I don't know what sugar is. I know this is appealing to me, and this is what I intuitively feel like I should do: peel it and eat it.
There you go.
You know,
there
like,
you go.
And it's energy. I know when I eat this, when I have a watermelon with lime juice in the sunlight, my energy increases, my connection to the world around me increases.
You feel the
my heart opens.
Yeah.
My energy goes way up. My inspiration goes up. Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know about sugar and necessarily carbs and stuff like that. When I'm speaking to people in the world now and I'm sharing about the lifestyle, I let them know. Like, it's very high carb, low fat, lower protein lifestyle, but because it's mostly fruit. And I believe, and what I've learned is like, it doesn't seem like we need quite as much protein as we're told.
No. Yeah.
I think it can. Maybe it's like I do notice if I have some more brown rice and beans and stuff, I feel like I put on muscle and my strength increases a little. But that's a choice.
Yeah.
We can be. I have friends who are very spiritual.
For sure.
They prioritize that, being lean, more connected with God, nature source, themselves, people in their life. Rather than be at the gym, they're connecting, making meaningful connections. That's beautiful. I got friends who are very strong and they spend a lot of time in the gym and they're a little bit more called to eat, a little bit denser, but they do hold more mass. And that's useful sometimes. It's nice to have friends, and I like to be somewhere, try to find the balance somewhere. But and that's what everybody's probably striving to do. But
so when you did the juice fast, the juice cleanse, or the juice feast for 7 months, how was that? Just lastly, like, how was that one of the most tremendous things, and what inspired you to even do that? Because for somebody to even go, like I was telling you the other day, for somebody to go through 3 days with no solid food, that's big. But for you to go 7 months,
that's a long time.
That's humongous.
It was.
So what was the initial, like, what was the impetus? What was the motivation and inspiration to go that long on juice?
It snuck up on me.
Okay.
It's hard to say. I think deep down I was ready for a breakthrough.
Okay.
To transcend some things.
You needed to go further. Okay.
And it snuck up on me though.
Okay.
Because we had like that. I had a juicer early on. Bought a juicer, saw the value in that. Had a blender. So I had a good solid 11 years, 12 years maybe, of my high raw, high fruit, 70% fruit, vegan, plant-based. All those years I'd done a lot of detoxing already. I had a couple of beautiful plant medicine experiences that were very detoxifying and enlightening. I would say with me at the time I did enlightening more than anything. I actually didn't have detox, maybe emotional detox from that.
Okay.
But so I had a foundation, and I started being led to a lot of content about these juice feasters.
Okay.
And it's so cool she's here today, but Jillian Berry's channel was influential at the time.
Okay.
Shane Sterling, who was here yesterday, was awesome. John Rose's content came up. I started being attracted to like these people who were more juicing. I got into following some people out of curiosity on the breatharian path. Because something resonated there. Like, it's very interesting to me.
For sure.
And for a few months, I look back, I'm like, I started watching those John Rose videos, like going heavy on them. I had seen them in the past, but I would rewatch. And we were coming out of COVID. I had moved from California back to Florida. And during COVID, everybody was a little freaked out. Grocery stores were not normal.
Absolutely.
I believe it or not, we were able to get so much fruit. It's funny when that happened. It was the processed foods that were jumping off the shelves. There was still lots of watermelon and stuff. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
They were not prioritizing
buying all the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, you can get your water through the watermelon. You don't even need the bottled water as much as you think. But even still, I remember at the time, my girlfriend at the time and I, we were going a little bit, we were raw till dinner with starch-based dinners, potatoes, rice, a little heavier, being more mindful of the budget and stuff. But so coming off that, I had done a lot of starches for a good period of 6 months or so.
Okay.
My body intuitively was like, okay, here's that bullseye.
Yeah.
You're like on the third rung out. You just bring it back in.
Okay,
like, that's
in.
what was coming. And again, it was all subconscious. I just started eating a little lighter, went
Yeah.
raw for a good couple months.
Yeah.
And then even like my banana-based smoothies and the salad started to feel dense.
Okay.
The avocado, I was losing attraction to the denser raw foods. And I started juicing. I cranked up the juicer again, and I was starting my days with juice and then getting into the fruit. And I was like, what's up, man? Like even bananas feel dense.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, one day I look back, it was a 4-month period where my body was systematically lightening my diet.
Okay.
My content was getting lighter, watching people who were lighter. And one day I just started, all right, let's do my juice for breakfast like I've been doing. And then midday came and I'm like, I'm feeling this juice is great. You know, let's just do juice through the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then it was like evening time, and I'm like, this juice, I'm still feeling like I'm buzzing today. Let's do juice again. And I did it for dinner. And I had done this before. I had I had like probably a 3-day, 7-day, 14-day was my max. And by then I was in California managing a beautiful plant-based restaurant in Newport Beach. And I was just like high as a kite for 14 days, just talking about the blessings and benefits of juicing. It was an awesome time, and that went 14 days. So I had a little experience under my belt, but by no means was I planning to go 7.5 months straight
I'm sure.
on homemade cold pressed juice.
I'm sure.
But that's what happened. So like I went a full day, slept like a baby. My dreams always improve. The closer to the bullseye you get, the more beautiful my dreams get.
Oh yeah.
Dreamt beautifully, slept well. Probably slept 2 hours less than I usually do, which was a good thing. Bounced out of bed, ready to go.
Recharge.
Started the day with juice.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, smoothie? I'm thinking, the whole house was stocked. I remember I had 40 pounds of bananas. I had no idea I was gonna do this. 40 pounds of bananas I was giving away. Like over a case and a half or something. I ended up giving them all away.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think I refrigerated them and then I ended up freezing them. I'm like, I'm not gonna get to these.
Oh my God.
So I gave them to a friend whose wife makes banana bread.
Generous.
Yeah, and it was awesome.
Oh man.
It was like a little bakery.
You're
But
like, here, my gift
but
to
it
you.
snuck up on me to that extent where I didn't plan.
Jeez.
I was buying fruit day to day, and next thing you know, it's like a week went by.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm not missing the other stuff at all,
No.
really. So I'm like, let's just keep going. I
Yeah.
kept going. 14 days came, that was my record at the time. And I wasn't trying to break the record or anything.
No.
I'm like, bro, I feel really good. And now I'm just really, really deep in this content of people who went over 100 days. And that was the first inkling, somewhere between 14 and 21 days. I had this inkling like, oh, like at 14 days I thought it'd be cool to go 21. And you hear that number a lot.
Yeah.
I like that number. That was my number when I played Little League as a kid.
Okay.
Number 21, it
21.
it resonates. My birthday is April 12th.
Okay.
The 1 and 2, I'm like, try to go 21 days. It feels special.
Wait, Aries?
Aries.
Awesome.
So I went.
Got that fire. That fire's in
Yeah,
you.
sometimes, yes. So
Yeah.
I went 21 days, and I always say sometime between day 21 and day 40, which is also a number that at the time, I'm not religious, so to speak, but Jesus seems like a cool guy from what I've read. Like if I open a Bible, I read the red print and I see what he shared, and it resonates with what he says. He went 40 days supposedly fasted in the desert or something.
That's what they say.
It's kind of cool. Like even though I'm drinking juice, right away, like within the first week, I started filtering all the juices. So like essentially very little to no fiber. It's kind of like a fast in a way. That'd be really cool if I go 40 days. This was like day 21. I'm thinking that. Let's just keep chugging along.
So it's Jesus.
Well, maybe the spirit of something was working.
Jesus did it, yeah.
And sometime between that day 21, day 40, something truly remarkable happened to me.
What happened?
And I call it going into juice orbit.
Ooh.
Like I entered zero gravity
Ooh.
when it came to any cravings. The first 3 days were the toughest, where you have a tendency to crave the same thing you've been eating.
Yeah.
Probably because those foods are still in your gut microbiome.
Right.
And the little critters and the living organisms that help break it down
Absolutely.
are craving more of the same.
Still accurate.
So I always say, I carb the F up, carb up heavily, get the calories to blast through the cravings. How do you get through those cravings? I'm like, carbing up, just like carving the F up on carbs and calories in general. Carbs meaning it could be juice, fruit, whatever your goal is. For me, it was juice.
Yeah.
I was drinking 8 to 9 32-ounce juices a day. if I was like a little hungry before bed, I would drink a 32-ounce juice right before bed,
Wow.
get up 3 times in the night to go to the bathroom. It was worth it.
You did it.
So those first
you
3
said,
days,
I'm a blast through.
yes,
We blasted through.
3 to 7 days.
We blasted through.
And like most of the cravings were gone, and then I had a sense of mastery over it by day 21 to 40.
Awesome.
The whole routine, where to source the fruit. It was mostly fruit juices, interestingly. Maybe 1 green juice a week on average for that whole period.
Okay.
But yeah, juice orbit, where like the thought of food was gone. And my body, it wasn't like the thought of everything was gone. My body still wanted the calories, still wanted the sustenance.
But the thought of food.
But juice was all my body
Wow.
wanted.
Wow.
Truly.
Wow.
It wasn't hard. People go, man, how do you do it so hard? I'm like, bro,
It
it's
wasn't
not.
hard. Yeah.
I'm like, you're the one. Now, like at work, they'd be snacking on cookies, cakes, crackers. It's always someone's birthday at work.
Yeah.
Every day. Someone's got a birthday. Someone brings a cake.
Celebration.
So like, I'm like, you don't see me going for the cake. I'm happy with my watermelon juice.
You know?
But it's
know?
interesting because they think you must be, but while they're snacking, I'm like, no. And the reason you're reaching for cookies because you're not carbing up on the right stuff, on the
Okay.
bullseye.
So
But
they think you're suffering.
they think I'm suffering,
Okay. They're like looking at you.
even though
like,
I'm smiling.
Yeah. They're like, how are you
Even
doing
though
that,
I'm,
man?
I'm
How are
blissed
you
out
doing that?
and
Isn't that
my
hard?
energy's through the roof,
They're like,
and I'm not drinking coffee.
Isn't that hard?
It's funny. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
rambling a little bit, but
No, it's good.
it was magnificent. And that
Man.
period from like let's just say day 40 through like day 200 were magical.
Man.
I always say I felt like I was walking with God,
Yeah.
with my highest self, just like arm around me,
Life-changing.
guiding my steps, downloads daily,
Man.
just realizations, and with bowel movements. It's so interesting having bowel movements that whole 7.5 months, 230 days. By the end of it, I was having 1 or 2 small bowel movements a week, but
Wow.
still waste coming out from the body
Still.
after that period,
That lets
which
you
tells
know.
you how much we have backed up inside of us.
That lets you know right there.
And especially once I became very sensitive, approaching day 70, 100, you have a really strong connection with yourself. You can feel when the waist breaks loose and it's moving. You might get a little bit of cramping going on, or a little bloating.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but as certain waste is moving through, I would notice the tendency to have some negative thoughts come up,
so
or
you saw the
fearful
effect.
thoughts, just dwelling on stuff that's
Yeah.
not the ultimate outcome.
You saw the
And then
effect.
as the waste comes out, within hours, those thoughts would like release, and I would feel like I released something significant and it wasn't gonna come back. And my whole mood, demeanor, my energetic sphere felt like lighter
Yeah.
and more buoyant
Yes.
and more positive.
I love
and it was
that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That is something I'll always remember, and I love sharing about it. But yeah, it became probably the plant medicine ceremonies were beautiful too.
Okay.
But one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever experienced. You know, and there was a period I thought, I think we're supposed to be breatharian, guys.
You're like, I don't know.
I
guys.
was like, I'm
You're like, I'm
so
thinking.
content because you get so sensitive to
Just
things where
peaceful,
you
yeah.
wake up and you check in with your body and go, what do you desire? Your body goes, sunlight.
Yeah. Nature.
Like even today, you'll see this kind of filtered sun out there. I found a little 6-foot area,
The pockets.
10 feet of sunlight,
Yeah.
bowl, watermelon,
Yeah.
lime, and just for a half hour, just like,
Yeah.
and if there weren't so many people, I'd be like shirt off. I'd have as much of my body exposed as
For
possible.
sure. For sure.
And it's like, that's like my happy place.
Man,
As
it's-
often as possible, I like that.
Huge contrast, man. Like, Brother John, just from like the nightclubs and DJing and like doing all this stuff where you probably didn't have a whole lot of sunlight. You know, you're falling asleep at 8 in the morning, coming from the job and coming from the gigs and the shows, and now you're like craving, you know, just nature, just everything. Whole paradigm shift. Whole paradigm shift. And that's just, it's very inspiring, you know, it's very motivating, it's very like, it's just invigorating, it's empowering, you know, it's encouraging, but it's also enlightening for somebody to understand that if they were going through a similar situation, if they were going through similar body aches, pain, ailments, thyroid issues, and they know that they can make steps to change it, and they can have a target, you know, and go for that bullseye, just like you did, and to see their life change in a dramatic way, man, just thank you for your testimony.
Oh, my
Thank you,
pleasure,
brother.
bro.
Like, thank you for this time. Seriously.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for talking with us.
No, it's mutual.
Yeah.
You're really easy to talk to because you're so present that it's very easy to stay focused when I'm talking to you. I really appreciate it.
That's the best.
You got to keep doing these. I love you do them regularly, and I love that.
Yeah.
I've watched a number of your talks
Awesome.
and interviews with great people. But you're gifted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you're a part of it.
Thank
You're a
you.
part of it now.
It's an honor. I wanted to say, you mentioned like that it all started with that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
It all, interestingly, to shed some hope for people and share
Yeah.
some hope.
Yeah.
I was at my lowest,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
The darkest, lowest like time in my life, health-wise. That brought me to my knees, literally. Like, you hear this stuff in movies. It sounds cliche, but like those times when you're brought to your knees and you surrender, and you open your mind finally, open your heart finally, are so powerful. And the intention I set then, like, this is BS. I want to live my life.
Yeah. I got more
I want to
do.
be able to do the things I want to do.
Yeah.
This is crazy, the amount of time, energy, worry. And I know I just knew deep down it was something I was doing wrong, that I was ignorant of about.
Okay.
But setting a powerful intention or a prayer, however you want to word it, but when you decide
Yes.
that this is for real, I'm doing this,
Yes.
if you're serious, it's as good as achieving it.
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's done. I
And
love
that's
that,
how
bro.
it was. And I had my godfather, my uncle, he shared some beautiful advice with me. Our intentions, he would say, it's my Uncle Lou. I'll send a shout out to him if he ever sees
Uncle
this.
Lou.
But he would say, our intentions transform and our attention energizes.
Our attentions transform.
Our intentions transform.
And our attention.
The amount of our attention energizes.
Energizes.
So like your intentions are like a compass. Which direction do I want to go? What do I
Yeah.
want to achieve?
Yeah.
And the amount, after that decision is made, the amount of attention that you focus like a laser on that,
Yes.
the faster it comes about, for one thing,
Right.
generally.
Right.
But the more energy you feed it.
Yes.
So our intentions transform. We can all do this, and our attention energizes that transformation,
I love
or
that.
expedites it, speeds it up,
I love that.
and it's proven itself true.
For sure. For sure. I love what you said as well, just on the last moment, what you said about you decided. You said, I just decided.
Yeah.
That's such a strong word. Like, somebody was saying the difference, between a choice and a decision. They said if you just make a choice, like, okay, you just choose one or the other, like, that's just a choice. But when they say you make a decision, he said the word decide, like day meaning from or of, and then side meaning to cut, like you're cutting something.
Yes.
So when a doctor or a surgeon makes an incision, they're cutting into something. They make an incision. When you make a decision, you are not only choosing something, but you're also cutting off everything else and saying, I'm going this way, I'm not going that way. I've decided.
Yes,
You
I love
cut
that.
off the way back, you burn the boats. You're like, that's a commitment. I've decided there's more for me to do. Like, why, God? You got on your knees and you're like, there must be a way, and you decided with conscious intention and focused attention to energize you in that direction. Bro, that's a resurrection right
Yes.
there.
Absolutely.
That's protection. You're divinely guided and ignited. So that's amazing, bro.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, bro. Man,
Thank you,
thank
Jerome.
you. This
It's
is
a pleasure.
It's powerful.
Powerful.
It's powerful.
It is,
So,
guys.
blessings, man, and
Blessings to you.
yeah, just thank you for your share and keep going.
Thank
Keep
you.
going.
You
Your
too, brother.
voice is powerful. We need it. We need it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for
Whoever's watching. Love you all.
Take care. Much love.
Much love, everybody.